Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our council meeting. This is the 25th meeting of the 145th Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. First of all, there are any disclosures of interest from any of the members? Seeing none, we'll move on to minutes.
I have a motion that the minutes of the meeting held on September the 2nd, 2025 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Council will now resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with the following business. First committee is strategic direction and development. First item relates to community improvement plan project for the property at 4 Scott Street. I have a motion that report PD 4225 relating to the community improvement program grants for 4 Scott Street be received for information, and further the council direct that a bylaw be prepared to enter into a community improvement program grant agreement with Tessa Kuipers relating to CIP application 2023-128. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Wookey.
Questions or comments? Councillor Gibson.
Yes, the 2 units, is that 2 newly units before the CIP was asked for, or are these the original 2 units that she was asking with the CIP?
Mr. Pompili. Excellent. Quick move to the microphone, too. Excellent. Yeah.
Unobstructed. Through your worship, that's my understanding, those are 2 new units. Yeah.
Well, that's really wonderful because that just goes to show what we can do as a municipality to encourage more single units like this in our community. Thank you.
Perfect.
And through your worship, just as a follow up to that, like our group has committed to the whole of council that we will each year bring forward a report that kind of highlights how the CIP, the number of units that we've approved each year through the CIP, money spent, things of that nature, just so council is aware of, the value and that they're getting with the CIP program.
Great. Further questions on the CIP? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Unless there are any further items from the members under this committee, we'll now move into community engagement and services. First item relates to health recruitment partnership. I have a motion that reports CMO 4125 relating to the health recruitment partnership. The agreement with Dr. Zulu Okolegwe be received for information, and further the council direct that a bylaw be prepared to enter into a health recruitment partnership agreement with Dr. Okolegwe for the provision of $33,000 in health recruitment incentive funding. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Wookey.
Questions or comments? Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. I was very pleased to see this on the agenda tonight. It's a follow-up to something that we have discussed at a previous meeting, and look forward to, again, the number of doctors that we are recruiting for this community and continue to do the work for health recruitment. So again, thank you to the CAO, to the health recruiter, and to the entire committee for the work that they are doing and they will continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item, also with the health recruitment partnership relating to nurse practitioner services. I have a motion that reports CMO 4225 relating to health recruitment partnership nurse practitioner Julia Petrakis be received for information, and further the council direct that a bylaw be prepared to enter into a health recruitment partnership agreement with nurse practitioner Petrakis for the provision of $5,000 in health recruitment incentive funding. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Questions
or comments? Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. Again, I commend the work of the Committee of Health Recruitment. The addition of allowing nurse practitioners to apply for the incentive funding is something that we discussed over a long period of time after we had our symposium and developed a strategic plan which made this inclusive for the incentive grants. So I applaud again the work and the progression that is happening with that committee. If there's anything else I could ask for from the city manager,
yes.
She would like to add a comment. Thank you.
City manager.
Thank you. Through your worship to council, I just echoing Councillor Baldwin-Sands' comments about this, that the expansion of the grant to include nurse practitioners really helps to serve and broaden the scope of our program and to really ensure that all residents in our community have access to primary care.
Super. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to the renewal of purchase of service agreement with Missions Systems Development. I have a motion that report SESS 2225 relating to the purchase of service for Mission Systems Development Corporation be received for information, and further that a bylaw be prepared authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a purchase of service agreement amendment with Mission Systems Development Corporation. Moved by Councillor Wookie, second by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless the members have any further items for this committee, we'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations. First item relates to intercommunity transit partnership funding. I have a motion that report ES 3325 relating to intercommunity transit partnership funding be received for information, and further, the council hereby confirms its participation in the Middlesex County Intercommunity Transit Cost Sharing Model with a financial contribution of $422,813.20 over the next 4 years, and further, the council authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the Associated Ontario Transit Investment Fund contribution agreement with Middlesex County. Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. I was hoping that Kevin might be able to explain what a fare by distance model is going to look like within this system.
Through the mayor to Councillor Peters. I'm not entirely sure what you are referring to by a fare by distance model.
It's on page 2 of the report as part of the application, talking about route optimization, et cetera, operational efficiency, and point number 4, introduction of a fare by distance model to enhance the system's revenue to cost ratio. If you don't have the answer there, you can have Rose just send me an email. That'll suffice.
Through the mayor to Councillor Peters, yes, I'll actually need to get in contact with Middlesex Connect to find out what it is that they're referring to in that particular line item.
Okay. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to transit service contract extension. I have a motion that report ES 3425 relating to the transit service contract extension be received for information, and further, council directs staff to exercise the city's option to extend the transit contract for additional 3-year term based on the same terms and conditions outlined in the original transit contract. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Kohler.
Thanks, Your Worship. I can't support this. I personally would like to see us go out and see what other operators have to offer, especially for a 3-year contract without testing the market. I think there's some other people that could probably work a little better with our app. And because we're in closed or open session, I'm not going to share some of my other comments, but I can't support this without going out and seeing what other operators may have to offer.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Clark.
Thanks. I was just going to echo that comment, and I don't see any disadvantage to finding out what the market would bear and find out whether or not there's any cost savings on a 3-year contract.
Kevin, would you like to add to any of that?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, to members of council, we could go out for a contract to test the market on what the cost would be to operate on a per hour basis. That's what our current contract is set up as. I can advise that the current existing language within the contract ties us to CPI increases. So that piece is basically set for the next 3 years if we need to continue the contract for that long of a period. Can also share that part of the process or part of the reason for the contract extension recommendation from staff is to provide staff the opportunity to figure out what route optimizations and schedulings do we need to make as part of an outcome of the current transportation master plan that we began about a year ago. So organically, we're looking to buy ourselves a little bit of time to be able to go through the process of figuring out what it is we need to go out to tender for. Are we just going to go out and tender for the exact same service that we're providing? Or do we want to tender something more of a proposal and find a service partner that's looking to operate transit as a service more so than transit as an operation? So that's the piece that this extension provides us the opportunity to go through and evaluate.
Councillor Kohler, supplementary.
Thanks. I appreciate the answer, but when you talk about a little bit of time, 3 years to me is not a little bit of time. That's locking us in for that amount of time. I understand what you're saying, and if it was going to be a minimal extension to examine that and then come back and see what other operators may have, I could understand that. But to vote on a 3-year extension and then look into that, for me, that's not a little bit of time.
Mr. Delavec?
Through the mayor to Councillor Kohler, the 3-year extension is part of the original contract piece. So if after the 3-year extension, there's 1 year extensions if we wanted to do that as well. But I don't think it would take us 3 years to be able to go through the process of figuring out through a transit strategy what it is that we want to offer in terms of improved transit services. That's something that we'll need to work together on with the community. But in any contract, the city always has an out.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Unless there are any further items for this committee, we'll move into corporate governance and administration. First item is the 2025 community grants for September. I have a motion that report TR 1825 relating to the 2025 community grants for September be received for information, and further, the council approve the community grant to STEAM Education Centers, Inc. in the amount of $1,327. Moved by Councillor Kohler, second by Councillor Wookey.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to a request to hire contracted employees through the Homelessness Reduction Innovation Fund. I have a motion that report SCSS 2325 relating to the request to hire contracted employees through the Homelessness Reduction Innovation Fund be received for information, and further, council authorized staff to hire 2 additional 12-month contracted housing program coordinators through the Homelessness Reduction Innovation Fund for the purposes of administering the new Prevention and Action Initiative. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. So at the end of the first year, you have 2 people has worked on the program. Is there a chance that they would be kept on and we would carry them? Or are they actually done after a full year? It's hard to get somebody to, I would think, to contract for 1 year because knowing that they're done. And I just wonder what are the opportunities for somebody to carry on once this funding is ended. So,
Ms. Nielsen?
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, Council. Through you, Your Worship, thank you very much for the question. Ideally, we would have longer-term funding for these positions. It certainly could have a benefit to the recruitment process. What we do know right now is that HRIF or high-RIF funding will have additional rounds in the future, up to 5 total. This project is part of round 1. We've been advised by the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness, the funder essentially, that the ability to apply to extend the existing program as is not necessarily what they're looking for. What they're hoping is that we will have tested an initiative, learned from it, and if we see a continued need for service, that we might look to identify new gaps in the system related to reductions in homelessness and then tailor our application. It could be the same 2 employees that would continue on in a variation of this high-RIF funding, but not exactly as it's prescribed in this particular project.
Okay. Further questions or comments? Councillor Clark.
Is this the type of project that in-house folks might move into and you'd backfill because you need a certain level of expertise?
Yes, through you, your worship, to Councillor Clark. Thank you for your question. Yes, that is quite likely to be the case, and then we'll backfill from the positions that we recruit from.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless there are any further items from the members for this committee, council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council and committee of the whole, as recorded in the minutes of this date, be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next, we move into reports of committees. The one report on for this evening relates to a request for alterations for the property at 20 Balaclava Street. This is a follow-up. A motion that report MHC 1125 relating to the request for alterations for 20 Balaclava Street be received for information, and further council consent to the proposed alterations relating to the proposed elevator shaft, balconies, and windows and doors, as well as the addition reflected in the additional materials received from Envisage Architects, Inc., dated May 5th, 2025, and further that notice of council's decision be provided to the Ontario Heritage Trust. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No petitions and communications this evening. Next order of business is unfinished business of council. Seeing no items, your worship, we'll now move into new business of council.
Councillor Peters.
Very much, worship. Question for Adrian. Westlake Park, Evans Park has now been opened 2 years. And I'm just wondering how long we have to leave the signs up for the government, federal government and provincial government participation in that project. We've already got a nice sign that says Westlake Evans. So just hoping that maybe we can make those go away.
The middle of the night tonight, Steve, you and me.
Through you, your worship. Thank you, Councillor Peters, for the question. We need to finish spending the money in that park before we can take the signs down. So we're still investigating the piano enclosure that was an original request for that park. So we have an architect that's designed it and we have to look into costs.
Okay, just on that then, so then the electrical went in?
That is also something that needs to be done as well. So yeah, there's still some pieces that need to be completed in that park before we can take down the signs.
Okay, I support the xylophone, I support the drums, I support the other thing, but as a downtown resident, I'm not sure how much I can handle a piano, but anyway, thanks.
Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
While you're there, thank you for bringing up Westlake Evans Park. I do have a question as a follow-up to the Queen's tree that we planted. We planted an oak tree there and there was going to be a plaque to designate that as the Queen's tree for the celebration of the Queen and her reign. And during that period of time, I think that was when the Queen passed. So there was, I think there might have been a disconnect to when we were going to be putting that together. So is that something that you can look into for us?
Through your worship, yes, I will look into that and get back to you.
Super. Thank you. Anything else under new business? I have one item. I last week was out on an accessibility scooter with Don Shaw. He's done this now 3 times with me as mayor, and we tend to tour the city and see some of the obstacles for people using accessibility scooters and the care and keeping of our city and making it smooth. So first of all, I want to thank Don for arranging this because we do it about every year or every 2 years, and he says Kevin's next. So, but I want to thank Kevin because I came back and reported what Don and I saw while we're out, and they're certainly minor compared to what we saw the first year we're out on the scooter. Don lives in Shaw Valley, and we went all the way through downtown to Wendy's. I bought him lunch, and then we went all the way through and back. And I'll tell you from riding one of the accessibility scooters, boy, do you ever feel good on the trails we have versus riding along on our sidewalks or right near traffic. And met someone else who was riding their accessibility scooter on the bike path of Wellington Street. And Don explained to me that gentleman rides on the bike path on Wellington Street because it's so much smoother than the sidewalks. The sidewalks, as you can tell, have, cracks. And so there's that. And this gentleman has a brain injury. And so every time he goes over a crack, so he uses our bike paths, but is thankful that we have the ability to have bike paths on some of our streets for that to happen too. But Kevin, to your staff, I know that every year I come back with a little bit of a report and say, hey, go look at this button or go look at where this is. But one of the questions, and I'll ask it here because I forgot to ask you, is some of our signals, our crosswalk signals, not crosswalk signals, four corner signal light signals have walks and don't walk signs. And some of them don't change to a walk sign unless you've pushed the button. And I was asked, why wouldn't they just all go to walk when it goes green light in a certain direction? Because if you don't get to push the button, or it's harder to get to the button, it sometimes doesn't switch over to walk where you can go. Is there a reason they don't just all go to walk signals?
Through the mayor to council, some pedestrian or some of the signalized intersections are slowly being upgraded to be push button activated. So that sign will come on to walk when there's a pedestrian there.
Right.
So it's more dynamic to the conditions that are actually occurring at that intersection at that particular instance. So that's why you'll see sometimes that they'll say walk and sometimes they won't, mainly because there's no pedestrian there that would have activated the need to cross.
Well, I don't want to keep everybody in this, but why wouldn't they just all go walk every time it goes green? Because in a scooter, trying to get yourself to that button, to be able to push that button to activate the walk signal, sometimes took us 2 or 3 cycles of the light. And if you're sitting there in a scooter, what difference would it make if it said walk and there was nobody there? I guess was our question.
Yeah, so we can go back and look at the programming on our traffic controller cabinets to make that change if that's what we want to do. That's not a problem.
Okay, well, think about that. Councillor Wookie.
Thanks, Your Worship. On that note, Kevin, I always thought that once you push the walk button, the green light would stay green longer in that direction to facilitate people crossing the street. But is that not the case? Because it doesn't sound like that's the case. But I always thought that by activating the walk sign, that light might stay green longer. Thanks.
Through the mayor to Councillor Wookie, that is the case at some locations as well. We want to make sure that the crossing time frame is long enough to make sure that all ages and abilities are able to cross that intersection, which is why some of the intersections are upgraded to the activated push button, pedestrian push buttons. Sometimes though, other intersections may not need that because the length for the green is the same. And so we can look at both of those just to make sure that the walk light comes on regardless of if the timing works.
Great, perfect. That's all I had. Any other new business? Seeing none?
We'll now move into bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Peters, second by Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Baldwin Sands, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none? No. Seeing none? All those in favor? Any opposed? Forgot where I was there in my own mind. Yes.
First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 8th day of September, 2025.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Next bylaw, please.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 189-2002, being a bylaw to impose fees or charges with respect to treasury matters.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? There is none. That's carried.
Third and final bylaw is a bylaw to impose and consolidate various fees and charges with respect to environmental and infrastructure services matters.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Arise and report the successful passing of 3 bylaws.
I have a motion by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Baldwin Sands, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the 3 bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No notice, public notices or notices of motion this evening. However, there is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with a personal matter about an identifiable individual and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality, and a proposed or pending disposition of land. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
As per normal, we will be voting to go into closed session, and we will rise from closed session only to adjourn our council meeting tonight or pass anything that we do in closed session. There is a public meeting that is scheduled to start at 6 o'clock. So if we finish our closed session before that, we will wait to start the public meeting at 6 o'clock. So those watching at home, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And any questions or comments on going to closed session? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.